Border state governors are looking to take the expected illegal immigration surge right to the president's doorstep, with Florida's Governor DeSantis saying he will bus them to Biden's home state of Delaware. Well, Texas Governor Abbott wants to send them to the steps of the Capitol, as he's planning to give those people here illegally the option to go to D.C. But it's not only Republicans who are outraged over wiping away Title 42. Democrats are as well. They're joining a bipartisan group of senators calling to keep Title 42 in place until there's a detailed plan to stop the expected surge. This comes as morale is already low among Border Patrol agents who say they feel defeated, demoralized, and unwanted. Governor Abbott of Texas says he's about to take action, and he explained why earlier on Fox.
This clearly is unprecedented. It's a high volume that the United States and states like Texas are ill-equipped to be able to deal with. And the Biden administration has no idea about the chaos that's stoked. You think that Americans are angry about inflation right now? Wait till they see the chaos that's going to occur on the border because of Biden's open border policies.
Biden never fails to bring unexpected people together. Tammy?
Yeah, you know, isn't that interesting? And that's a very good sign for this country, that we all have a similar interest in security for our families, in low crime, which affects everyone, does not discriminate, the nature of what the future may look like, which is what these immigrants are coming here for. This is what we all stand for. And it's nice to see, in fact, that there is some understanding, especially when you represent border states and you feel it every day. This is a great thing about the founders' vision. House members are more close with the nature of what's happening in their states, get reelected more often, so they have to be responsive. And this is what it's about. It's about human rights. It's about keeping everyone safe, regardless of what country you're from, and even the nature of the security. 42 was meant to be, of course, an action based on our ability to remove people when there's a health emergency. Well, we still have that pandemic. Yes, we're managing it here, thank goodness. But what we are seeing also in Mexico are people coming in from other countries that we are still restricting to some degree that then come to the southern border. As a matter of fact, there's over 1,000 Ukrainian refugees at the southern border now because of their desperation to get into this country. So it's good news, but we've got to keep it going, and we're reminded that we are not to be held hostage by bad federal policy, that your local politicians, Congress members, mayors can make a difference.
Well, and Tammy, it's 150 countries. That's what General Jack Keane just told me. I mean, this is a situation that you couldn't stem that tide overnight if you tried, so you need to slow it down before May 23rd when it gets a whole lot worse. Guy.
And it is going to get a lot worse if Title 42 is lifted. It is sort of interesting to see these Democrats all of a sudden signing letters, rushing to Republicans to say, hey, let's get together and do something about this. Because I think, yeah, they might be worried about the policy implications. I think they are awfully worried about the political implications, because this is already a bad border crisis. It is going to become a disaster at the end of May. And I find this interesting, Harris. Think of it this way. President Biden cannot be bothered to go to the border. So now the governors of Texas and Florida are going to bring the border to him in Washington, D.C. and in Delaware. We'll see if that might change anyone's perspective. And just to put this into perspective from a numbers vantage point, this is astonishing. Already in the last 6 months, in this current fiscal year, there have been more than 1 million apprehensions at the southern border. That does not count hundreds of thousands of gotaways. 1 million encounters so far in the last 6 months. That is more people than the population of Delaware, the president's home state, and that's before this massive surge after Title 42 goes away as planned next month.
So maybe they send some of them to Delaware, based on those numbers. I'm not kidding, actually. I mean, if you want to get the president's attention, he spends north of 26% of his time in Delaware. Kaylee, two things popped today. We learned that the Border Patrol from the top general needs $531 million for the benefit of having military help out at the border. They had a ballooning of numbers down there by about 10,000 because they were overrun, outnumbered, as I like to say. So you've got that going on, and then you have this other thing simultaneously going on, and it is that idea that we can overcome this. We can overcome this. Fentanyl is going to teach us that we can't.
Right, we can't. There's an entire generation that is being plagued by this awful, awful drug that pours across our southern border. And as Dan Crenshaw said, well, if there's no public health emergency for COVID for Title 42, there is one for fentanyl. That's just a fact, when it could kill the entire population of the United States, and it's coming primarily across our southern border. But I must ask, why is the White House doing everything in its power to incentivize illegal immigration and setting the border on fire ahead of a midterm election year? And when they're asked, what are you going to do about immigration? Here's what they tell Axios. On the president's first day in office, he sent an immigration bill to Congress that invests in smart solutions. Okay, so blaming Congress ahead of a midterm election, vote these guys out is essentially what they're saying. They haven't done their job. It's run by Democrats. And smart solutions? I don't think so. The plan that Biden put forward has a path to citizenship and a minimal investment, if any, in border security, unlike past bipartisan bills. So it's not a solution that they've put forward. And you have, I don't know if we have their pictures, we can pop it up again, the 7 Democrats in the Senate who are criticizing the administration. Yeah. That's significant. Manchin calling it frightening. Well, look at all their pictures here.
Let's pause for a second. I mean, I know Kirsten Sinema in Arizona, you know, some are in actual border states. Montana's not a border state.
Nope.
West Virginia's not a border state. New Hampshire's not a border state. They're all border states now because of fentanyl.
When you put illegal migrants through an unmarked office and send them across the country, every state is a border state. And if this bill passes, they put forward a bill to essentially keep in place part of Title 42. Is the president going to veto it? Is he going to veto the bill? I wonder.
We'll sit perched for that.
Yeah.
Emily, I want to ask about what happens legally when those people start to show up in a different place. Because remember, this was the government that was flying illegal immigrants around, including children, in the darkness of night. And then they got busted.
Yeah.
And we had all that, all that footage. What fight back will the federal government have against Abbott and other governors like DeSantis?
Well, and let me carry that ball a little further first, because it dovetails in with that question. So we've had a lot of, as you said, all states are now border states. Well, the governor of Iowa pointed out, you put in the middle of the night 15 unaccompanied young female minors in Des Moines without alerting state authorities. That is audacious. That's unconstitutional, they argue. The Nebraska governor has argued that 18% of migrants encountered at the border have tested positive for coronavirus. He says in our communities alone in Nebraska, you have inserted over 40,000 COVID positive migrants into their communities. And they say, where are the other Democratic governors? So we know that the GOP governors keep coming together. They've proposed a 10-point immigration plan for the federal government that includes deploying more federal resources, right, shoring up the border, reinstating Remain in Mexico and the like. But the question remains for all of those Democratic governors paying lip service to a secure southern border, or simply saying, oh no, it's not open. Where are they in this huge fight where drug cartels make $400 million a month trafficking humans, trafficking fentanyl and the like over the border? And to answer your question, I know there are a lot of proponents about declaring that an invasion in the southern border that raises constitutional issues, and it's essentially because states are not allowed to shore up the borders in an aggressive way using weapons in that way unless it has been declared an invasion. And courts have ruled, the Supreme Court, that it's not for the courts to decide what makes an invasion. It's another governmental entity. So we know Ukraine clearly was invaded by Russia. I think we are hard-pressed to see that this is one, especially in the public eye coming up to midterms. I think that would be a dangerous choice. But these guys need help, and this federal government is not delivering it.
Tammy, we literally have 15 seconds. Your top-line thoughts about where we will be on May 24th, the day after Title 42 goes away.
Well, we know that Washington is not going to do the right thing. It's going to be a cataclysm. It's going to be something that not just upends our lives as Americans, but there's going to be more sex trafficking, more drugs, more violence and crime in general because of the general chaos that will be overwhelming that border. It's going to be awful.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.